If you know my channel, you've seen that I have been praising the crap out of the CRF250F, and it really blew me away as a motorcycle. I was not expecting to love this bike as much as I do, but I have some gripes with it. There are some things I hate about it. Some of them are just mild complaints, but some of them really irritate me, and I'll explain that in this video. I have 5 points, 5 reasons why I hate the CRF250F. And before we get into the video, I just want to say, if you enjoy this type of content, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We build it one step at a time. It's free and it really helps me out, so click that button down below and join the SoupMoto crew. Also, if you enjoy this type of video, please be sure to leave it a like and drop a comment below. Let me know if I left anything out. Let me know your opinions on the CRF250F. I would love to continue the conversation below. Let's hop right into the video, starting with point number 1, the suspension. This is one of the most commented things I see on my videos about the CRF250F. People really don't like the suspension, and to be honest, I see where they're coming from. It's, as far as suspension technology goes, it is not the most amazing suspension. Now, it's not designed to have amazing suspension. That's the first thing. Let's just get that out of the way. I am well aware that this bike is not designed to have an amazing suspension system. It's not meant to go over really intense terrain or hit huge jumps or anything. So because of that, the suspension bottoms out on steep dips. When you hit jumps on it, it bottoms out. It's not the most amazing suspension. I don't really like the suspension on it, to be honest with you. However, I still like the bike because I know what it's designed for, and it fits its role excellently. Check out some of my other videos if you want to see what the bike does good. But yeah, the suspension is not one of those things. It's not the most amazing suspension. It's adequate for what it's designed for, but if you try to push the limits on it, it really falls short. One example I'll give you is me and my friend went down to the creek crossing near some of the local trails that we ride a lot, and we crossed the creek. We were just chilling, walking around the creek, enjoying the scenery, and I saw this one little section where there's like a high wall, probably about 4 feet high, and it drops off of a trail straight down into the creek. And I was like, oh, that would be really cool to get on video, jumping the CRF250F off of this drop down into the creek. No landing ramp or anything. The suspension certainly would have bottomed out, but I was like, you know what, I'm an experienced rider, I can handle it, let me go try it out. So I get back on the bike, I ride back up to the top where this start of the jump would be, and when I get up to the edge of it, I'm like, oh snap, this is actually kind of higher than I expected when I'm sitting on the top of it. I think I could have landed the jump fine, but the problem is, I know the suspension's going to bottom out. I'm anticipating that, and I think to myself, you know what, because the suspension's going to bottom out, I'm more likely to bend the forks or bend a rim or put a flat spot in the rim or something like that. If I do this jump, it's not worth it for me. So I just said, you know what, I'll come back later on a different bike that is more capable. And so that's a highlight example of what probably would happen if you tried to do some crazy stuff on this bike. The suspension's not going to be able to handle it. You're probably going to end up snapping something or bending something that's not meant to be bent. That is the first downside of the CRF250F. That moves along to another handling aspect, which is number 2 on the list. The bike is freaking heavy. Dude, it is heavy. Now, you really don't notice it much when you're just riding around normally, and it's not that big of a deal. I would not say this is a reason to not get the bike. However, it is heavy, and in some situations, like I find myself in, it's a little bit sketchy. So, for example, if I'm hitting a hill climb and I don't make it up the hill because the bike is a little underpowered, you gotta figure out a way to lug it and turn it around. Now, this isn't the biggest deal to me, because I know how to maneuver a bike, but if you are a beginner and you're trying to push the limits of the bike, you're growing in your skill set, and you're trying these new things for the first time, taking it over some rough terrain and that sort of thing, you're gonna find yourself in some sketchy situations, and the bike being that heavy is gonna be a downside and a drawback when you find yourself in those situations. Not the end of the world, but I don't necessarily love how heavy the bike is. The third point, which ties into this bike being so freaking heavy, they don't have a kickstart. The 125F, the smaller bike in Honda's lineup, has an electric start and also a kickstart. Why on earth Honda did not put a kickstart as a backup on the CRF250F? I don't know. I'm sure someone can drop it in the comments below. Let me know if you have some insider information from Honda. Please tell me why in the world they did not put a kickstart as a backup on this machine. I made the mistake of leaving my key on. One time, me and my buddy were gonna go out riding that day. I realized I left the key on. I didn't have enough time to get the battery fully charged, and I had to bump start the bike more times than I would have liked to do that day on trails with a lot of elevation changes on them. It was quite annoying, quite difficult. I did not enjoy pushing the bike out of steep ravine sections and that sort of thing. So I would say, why the heck did you not put a backup kickstart on this bike, Honda? It's already heavy as f***. Let me bleep that out. It's already super freaking heavy. Why did you not just add a little extra weight and put a Kickstarter on it? I do not understand. That is one major gripe of mine. I really don't get it. Why would you not do that? Okay, anyway, let's get off that topic and move to the next topic. Why in the world did you name the CRF250F the way you did, Honda? You already have a CRF250R and the CRF250RX. This has been a nightmare making videos for this bike on YouTube because people do not understand the differences between them. Check out my video in the top right. You've got it all wrong. This will explain the difference between the CRF250F and its really similarly named counterparts, the 250R and the 250RX. I really don't know why Honda is trying to make this bike seem as though through marketing that it's some race bike. It looks really cool, don't get me wrong. I love the plastics, love the design, I love how it looks like the race bikes. It looks really sharp and aggressive, but it's not. It's sluggish, it's slow. If you would have just named it like the XR250F or something like that, people would have understood that this is a completely separate category. But unfortunately, they decided to name it the CRF250F, so similar to the race bike, so similar to the hare scramble woods competition bike. Why in the world would you name it that? It sows so much confusion into the online discourse around these bikes, and I don't understand why they named it so similarly to their competition bikes. They could have easily called it the XR250F and just called it a day, but they didn't. And speaking of the old XR bikes that Honda used to make, I don't know why they didn't just put a headlight on this thing. I guess I understand why they didn't put a headlight on it. They were kind of just trying to make it a simple beginner trail bike. However, they could have put a headlight on it and it would have been awesome. I would love to ride the bike around the back roads at night, check out some trails. Also, it's just nice in the woods on trails to have a headlight. The forest can get dark, the sunlight does not come down through the trees nearly enough, and it's great to have a headlight. I loved having a headlight on the DRZ 400 SoupMoto when I had it. I really wish Honda would have just put a headlight on this thing stock. I plan on, in the future, upgrading the CRF250F and putting my own headlight on it. Still trying to figure out what type of headlight I want, but that will be one of the first upgrades I do to this thing, following putting handguards on it. If you don't know, I broke my finger running into a tree. It wasn't on this bike, it was on my YZ125, but check that video out. I'll link it here as well. That's why I'm putting handguards on it. Probably something I should have done way early on when I knew I was going to be riding a lot of trails this year, but I didn't. I reaped the consequences of it, but it's okay. Anyway, that is the final reason that I hate the CRF250F. Now, I don't actually hate the CRF250F, but, you know, clickbait title for the video. You guys got fooled. Welcome to the platform. I hope you enjoyed the video in all seriousness. I hope it was helpful in helping you make some decisions about this bike if you are planning on getting it or you're thinking about getting it. If it was not as helpful as you'd like, I give you a 100% money back guarantee. Just kidding, but I will be happy to answer any comments in the comment section below. If you have any questions about the bike, I would love to answer those for you. If you did enjoy this video, check out some of the other videos on my channel surrounding the CRF250F. It is a brilliant bike. I love the motorcycle. Check out the companion video to this, why I love the CRF250F. Thank you guys for watching. That has been this video presentation. I will see you guys in the next one. Soup out.